What's up everybody, this is Mike and today we're going to talk about how to shoot, or actually let's just say how to film people. I think that sounds much better. How to film people with your drone and make the whole experience a lot less stressful, a lot less painful and more enjoyable for you and for them as well. So I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to do that, and let's go right into it. So recently I made the conscious decision to stop focusing so much on the nature shots with my drone and just start filming people and just film action-packed scenes that are just a lot more enjoyable to watch. And of course they're more difficult to film because you only have for the most part you only have one shot to film everything. So at first it wasn't really easy for me to film people. I was struggling to keep them in the frame, or I was struggling to follow the right path with my drone. But once you start incorporating some simple tips that I will share with you today, it all gets much easier and just a lot more enjoyable. So let's just start with tip number 1. My tip number 1 is to always let the people that you're going to film know that you're going to film them, because otherwise, first, it's illegal, and second, makes it so much easier for you. Maybe you want to give them a couple of tips on how to move, where to go, so you can prepare your drone, you prepare your direction, your movement, your speed, and everything needs to be set up before you start filming. So definitely you need to talk to the people, let them know how you plan to film them, where you plan to go with your drone, and what do you want them to do in the shot. So that will make your job a lot easier. The second thing you need to know when filming people is that it's a great idea to use the propeller guards. Now, I have never used the propeller guards before on my Mavic Air or even on my DJI Spark. I'm not a huge fan of how the drone looks with the propeller guards, but in this case, when filming people, you might get a bit too close to them, or you might have some kind of accident, and the propeller guards will save the situation, save yourself and the people from being hurt. And I don't think you should overlook this, as it's a very small thing but makes a huge difference. My tip number 3 is to use tripod mode. Tripod mode is amazing for filming people because it slows down the speed of your drone and gives you a lot more flexibility when you are rotating around the object that you're filming, or you're keeping up with him or her. It's just much better to use slower speeds when filming people because it makes everything so much smoother and just generally makes it much better. I have tried filming in normal mode, even in sport mode, when trying to keep up with a person that is running, but it's just not working that well. Of course, if you're trying to film something that is moving very quickly, you might need to use those modes, but when filming people, tripod mode is definitely the way to go. My tip number 4 is to not go too high or too far away from the person that you're trying to film. There's nothing worse than just start a shot from 200 meters away and people will be wondering what is the point of that shot, what is he trying to show us, because the person would not be visible in the frame. So instead, try to fly low and close to the person that you're trying to film. Keep the object centered, or at least keep it in the frame, and keep it slow, keep it steady, and that will make a huge difference. My next tip is kind of connected with the previous one, and that is to use your drone as a gimbal on the ground instead of flying too low. You can use that for passing through very tight spaces, and generally just use your drone as a gimbal. Now, I just bought a DJI Ronin S, which is a gimbal for the regular cameras that we are shooting on, the one that I'm using right now. So ever since I bought this gimbal, I found a new love for stabilized shots from the ground, and you don't need to buy a gimbal like that just to have a low and stable shots from the ground. You can just use your drone. Of course, it would not be that efficient, but you can use the Katana from Polar Pro. That's a great accessory for making your drone as a gimbal and use your phone on top of it. That's a great accessory that you can use. I will link it in the description if you want to check it out if you don't have a gimbal yourself. but it's a great way to incorporate some ground footage of the person. Maybe the person would be walking on the ground, or just you're going to move around the person with the drone camera or the gimbal camera, that whatever you have. But it's just nice to show the person from a low perspective from the ground, something that most people forget when they use their drone. They try to go as high as possible and as far away as possible just so they can demonstrate that they're using a drone. But you don't need to demonstrate that you're using a drone every single shot. You can use your drone as a stabilized camera, and make sure you give it a try because it makes a lot of difference. My tip number 6 is to use the intelligent flight modes that your drone already has to your advantage. Personally, I like to shoot by myself, and whenever I want to include myself in the footage, I use quick shots because you don't really need to hold your controller. Everything is automated and you can create some amazing shots without even keeping the controller in your hand, and it looks like somebody else is filming you. So that way you can also include some footage of yourself without any hassle. And the final tip that I have for you today is to disable obstacle avoidance when filming inside. Now, recently I had to film many people inside a small hall, which was quite low and quite packed with people, so I didn't really have a lot of place to move with my drone. So the one thing that helped me a lot was to disable the obstacle avoidance feature. This feature would keep your drone away from every wall or small obstacle in the room, but disabling that feature will give you all the freedom to go through very small and tight places, and also will give you the chance to go as close as you can to a wall or another obstacle. So in that case that I'm showing on the screen right now, I was able to be maybe just 5 or 10 centimeters away from the wall, and it made such a difference because otherwise, with the obstacle avoidance on, the drone was constantly twitching and stopping by itself and just was ruining my footage, and I wasn't able to do anything and to film anything that I wanted. So once I disabled obstacle avoidance, I was using the propeller guards, of course, because you don't want to break your propellers in the wall. But once I disabled the obstacle avoidance feature, I was able to get really close and film the sequence that I wanted to exactly the same way I had it in my mind. So keep in mind that it's a bit more dangerous that way, so you definitely need to be aware what you're doing and where your drone is going at all times. So in case you're filming inside, you definitely need to use tripod mode to keep the drone very slow and use the propeller guards. That makes really everything a lot smoother, everything's a lot safer, nobody was hurt, and I was happy with the footage that I got. So keep that in mind, and that is my final tip for today. So hopefully you found these 7 tips useful, and hopefully next time when you start filming with your drone, you will be a lot more relaxed and you will enjoy the whole process a lot more, because that's what matters in the end. Please let me know in the comment section below whether you have any interesting stories about filming people with your drone, or you have any questions or concerns. Let me know and I will try to reply to all of you as soon as I can. Drop a like to this video if you have enjoyed it, and subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my future videos. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Ciao!